So today we're going to have a class about Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Ramananda Roy. It's called the Ramananda Samvada. Very interesting teachings because it shows us what the highest principle is in spiritual life, because there's different principles in spiritual life. There's a hierarchy. And so we'll find out what's the highest. And I'll also announce this after the class, but I just want to let you know. Next week, we're going to have a special class about the dangers of being an ABCD. And we want all the youth to come. Forget about dancing next week. No Bart Nutcham dancing for you. So we want the youth to come, and it'll be co-hosted by Adi Purusha Prabhu, who's an Adi ABCD, who just got married this week. So it's going to be very interesting for the parents. Perhaps some of you don't know what an ABCD is. No? They know what it is, because that's what they are. They're called American-born confused Deshis. And they don't know where they are, who they are, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. It's just like they're being, there's our co-host for next week. He's a bona fide PTSD ABCD. So that'll be next week, and he'll also make sure that many of his cohorts, that means friends, will come and be able to testify. It's not a court case, don't worry. They'll be able to testify as to the dangers, because, you know, it's important for the parents to see it from the children's perspective. That was the point. You know, because sometimes, just a little introduction, sometimes the parents, they look at their children and think, oh, they're very dharmic. They look like me. They have the same genes as me. They don't talk like me. They don't shake their heads like that. So what's wrong with them? So except for this young man here, he's a American-born, non-confused Deshi. Oh, you're Indian-born, non-confused. And confused? All right. We'll excuse you. So it should be an interesting discussion. We expect a lot of people next week. And like I said, Adi Purusha, who is a PhD in ABCD. He has a PhD from Cambridge in ABCD. Pretty good, isn't it? So he'll be co-hosting. Should be interesting, because it'll be interactive too. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopi Janabalabha Girivarura Hode Gopi Jana Malabha Girivarura Hode Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tirabana Chare Yamuna Tirabana Chare Jai Ranhu Madhava Kunya Bihare Jai Radhu Madhuva Kunya Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarudhahule Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarudhahule Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tera Panachagante Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihare Jai Radhu Madhuva Kunya Bihare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Jada Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalana the Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagadha Sami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samana Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Go Premananda Hari Hari Go. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarni Somagana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Probably want to put the harmonium there because the door opens, it may smash into the harmonium. So, today we're going to talk about a story where Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becomes a student. And this is not during his school years in Mayapur. This is after he took sannyas. Usually sannyasis are not students. Of course, we're always learning more about Krishna. And we're always learning from Prabhupada, so in that sense, we're always students. So in this particular story, Lord Chaitanya was inquiring about the absolute truth and the different stages to realize the absolute truth from one of his devotees. All right, let's first describe who Lord Chaitanya is, since some of you may not know. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, who appeared a little over 500 years ago for the purpose of teaching us the Yuga Dharma. What is the Yuga Dharma? Krishnanam Sankirtan. Sankirtan means either chanting in congregation or chanting intensely yourself, being absorbed in the holy names. Sankirtanam. So, just like I was explaining to some devotees in Charlotte this morning by the internet, the magic of the internet, I was explaining to them about a new temple project that I'm proposing to them in Charlotte. And I said, you may be satisfied just sitting in your little facility now and coming once a week. But if you actually want to be Krishna conscious, you have to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement. Like Prabhupada said one time when devotees were saying that we want the dust of your lotus feet. And Prabhupada said, my feet are always moving. So you got to move. That's why Prabhupada called the Hare Krishna movement the Hare Krishna movement rather than the Hare Krishna Society or the Hare Krishna Church or the Hare Krishna Temple. Everybody else has a temple. We have a temple too, but this is called the Hare Krishna movement because it has to move, and the more you move, the more you become ecstatic. So I was explaining that to the devotees in Charlotte. Don't be satisfied. Stick your necks out, I was telling them, because that means financially, to buy a property. Because we had found a property for them. It's really nice. Right next to a main park in a beautiful area, right, a place called Pineville, North Carolina. So anyway, this is about Lord Chaitanya, who came to teach the Yuga Dharma. Also, he came to experience his own ecstasies, because Krishna wants to become more ecstatic. And the way he becomes more ecstatic is he takes on the mood of his devotee. It's pretty good, isn't it? It's better than being God. Like sometimes you'll go to these religious organizations where they'll tell you that you're God, I'm God, you're all God, thank God, God forbid. No, they won't say that. And really, to be God is not a good job. Because everyone's praying. Can you imagine? I mean, I get a few emails a day. Could you imagine how many emails God must get every day? Not just emails. He knows what you're thinking. He's in your heart. So people don't even have to send a message to God. And he knows. It's pretty overwhelming. But Krishna can manage it all. And Krishna's dancing in Goloka Vrindavan the whole time. And he lets the demigods handle everything. And he's still aware of everything. And he's still all-pervading by the Paramatma and through his energies. Interesting. So in Krishna consciousness, in the Vedic literatures, we have a definition of God that's complete, not incomplete. He's both personal and impersonal. He's everywhere and not everywhere. That's called the Chincha Beta Beta Tattva. Pretty interesting philosophy we got. It's the most advanced philosophy. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he took sannyas, he generally resided in a place called Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri is where you have the deities of Lord Jagannath, obviously. And sometimes he would go on tours for preaching. And so one time he was going on a tour to South India for preaching Krishna consciousness. So before he left for South India, there was one of his great associates in Jagannath Puri. His name was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was previously what we call an impersonalist. someone who was a follower of
Mute
Sripad
your
Shankaracharya.
microphone.
And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to convince him to become a personalist. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, we're both impersonalists and personalists. It's complete. Because people may say that God's not complete if you say he's a person. Well, we say that God's not, your understanding of God is not complete if you don't think he's a person, because that just means he's missing something. You understand? So God must have all different aspects. He must have a loving aspect and an aspect where there's ghastliness, killing the demons. Parichanaya sadunam vinashaya shaduskritam. I mean, just that one verse itself shows both those aspects of Krishna, doesn't it? Parichanaya sadunam vinashaya shaduskritam. I come to assist the devotees, sadunam, the great devotees. Vinashaya duskritam, the duskritina, the rascals. That's the opposite. Actually, the word kriti means meritorious. Dushkriti means not meritorious. You know, the opposite. The bad guys, basically. So Krishna annihilates them. I mean, Krishna, he cuts off the heads of some of the demons. Can anyone think of the demon he cut the head off of? Shishupal. Right? Krishna destroys the demons' airplanes, too. He has a great anti-aircraft gun. Anyway, so the Shalva had his airplane, and that airplane was like the modern-day airplanes where the radar won't detect them and everything like that. So it was an invisible airplane, but Krishna was able to conquer the invisible airplane. So Krishna has both aspects. So Lord Chaitanya decides to go to South India to preach Krishna consciousness. And so he's told by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that you should go see the governor of Chennai, which is previously known as Madras, and his name is Ramananda Roy. So Lord Chaitanya said, okay, I'll go see him. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, he's a great devotee. I didn't recognize that before because I didn't understand the personal aspect of God before. That was Sarvabhauma saying that. But now I understand he's a great devotee. Please see him. So Lord Chaitanya went on a tour south India, and he stopped at various places. One is called Singhachalam. Anyone's heard of Singhachalam here? Yes, Singhachalam. Been there? It's a self-manifested deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. I've been there several times. Singhachalam, I've been to Mangalgiri, all the places in Andhra and Tamil Nadu. So, anyway, so Lord Chaitanya went there. Eventually, he reached the river called the Godavari River, one of the sacred rivers of India. And he went to take his bath in the river. Same time, there was a whole, we say, hubbub, or group of people coming with instruments and noise, and there was someone riding on a palanquin. You all know what a palanquin is? That's how they used to take all the ladies around. Prabhupada said in the old days, the ladies would be taken around in a palanquin carried by 4 men. But nowadays, they just drive their own cars. But that was a self-driving car, you know. No advantage, no technological advantage nowadays. It's better to have a palanquin. So he was being carried around in a palanquin. There was a whole crowd around him, and there were learned Brahmins chanting all these different mantras. And Lord Chaitanya saw him, and he recognized that it was Ramananda Roy, this governor of Madras, or Chennai. And so Lord Chaitanya wanted to run and see him, but it wasn't appropriate for a sannyasi to run and see, because Ramananda Roy came from a family that was considered a Shudra family. And the caste distinctions were quite strong. Even today, they're quite strong in India. And so Lord Chaitanya thought, well, maybe I shouldn't run up and see him. But Lord Chaitanya thought, well, I want to attract him to see me. So Lord Chaitanya turned up the lumens. You know what a lumen is? The light, so he became manifest as bright as 100 suns. Can you imagine 100 suns? It's pretty bright here. pretty hot too. Of course, I'm sure Lord Chaitanya didn't manifest the heat of 100 suns, because that would have been finishing the earth planet at that point. But it was as bright as 100 suns. And when Ramananda Roy saw that, he introduced himself, and I'm Ramananda Roy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just embraced him. Now, normally a sannyasi doesn't embrace a Shudra. And Ramananda Roy was a learned person. So learned persons don't go around embracing sannyasis. They don't just walk up to strange sannyasis and embrace them. And they both fell to the ground unconscious. And they exhibited something called the Ashta Kaliya Leela. Not Kalila. Ashta Sattvika Bhavas, sorry. Ashta Sattvika Bhavas. I was thinking about something else. Ashta Kaliya Leela is the pastimes of Krishna. So Ashta Sattvika Bhavas. And these are the bhavas or emotions, intense emotions, that occur with a pure devotee when the pure devotee is in contact, well, the pure devotee is always in contact, with what we call Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva means the transcendental mode of goodness or pure goodness. And when his life airs, everyone knows what a life air is? Like the pranas in the body, they control everything. So when his life airs got in touch, where pure devotee gets in touch, he just loses consciousness and rolls on the ground. And these are the bhavas or the emotions experienced by a pure Vaishnava. And of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, was exhibiting these particular emotions up to the level we call Mahabhav, the great emotion. And so Ramananda Roy, why was he exhibiting these emotions? Well, he was exhibiting these emotions because he was actually Vishaka Devi. Everybody knows who Vishaka Devi. Radharani has two primary associates, and of course there's 8, but there's 2 primary. That's Lalita and Vishaka. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world, all of his associates, that is Krishna's associates, appeared with him, means either before him or a little after him, but at the same time, around the same time, to help him execute his pastimes. I mean, you have even his primary followers, the 6 Goswamis, they are actually eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari in Krishna's pastimes. So, the other brahmanas that were with Ramananda Roy became very confused. You know, here is this sannyasi embracing a 4th-class man, you know, Shudra. And, you know, sometimes in some places in India, the person who is in a certain caste can't even cross the street to go to the other side of the street because that's only for the Brahmins or whatever. Things tend to be really stratified. So, I'm not advocating for that. Lord Chaitanya's movement is such that Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyashi Shudra Kenanai Yay Krishna Tattva Veta Say Guru Hai. Problem with the computer? Why don't you just mute? You know how to mute it? Yeah, you know how to mute it. Just mute everybody. You mute everybody. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes people do that. They talk during my class and have a private chat with their friends. So, Kiva Vipra Kiva Nashi Shudra Kenanaye Krishna Tattva Vetasi Guru Hai. In Krishna consciousness, there's no distinction. Everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. Everybody is a devotee. You know, maybe different levels of spiritual advancement. Of course, we all have our propensities. Someone may have a propensity of being a Brahmin. Someone may be a propensity to be a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. But they can all be friends and all come to the temple. I'm not questioning any of you. Okay, any Shudras, raise your hand. Wait outside. Wait outside, you know, don't go in the Prasadam room. Give you a leaflet? No. To stay outside, and we'll give you the plate later on. And we'll just like, yeah, we'll give you the plate, and you can, we have some dogs out there you can eat with and things like. It's so bad in some places like that. So, but that just means guna karma vibhaga shah. Everybody has a different propensity. I mean, for example, I like to speak, as if you couldn't guess. So, and I like to study. I enjoy doing these things. So, it's more like Brahminical. Even though I was born in the Western world and all that other nice stuff. And actually in Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, everybody is Shudra. A samskara bhavet dvijam. By the samskara means the proper impression, ceremony, like that. One can become twice born, but it's not just the ceremony, it's actually the qualities that you exhibit that determine your varna. You could have so many ceremonies. I mean, I could take a cat and give it a Brahman thread. It's like I was walking here recently, and there was a cat lying on the ground. I said, "Get up, you bum. Do something practical." So, I could have taken a little tiny thread, put it around it, and recited the mantra into the cat's ear. It wouldn't have made any difference. But it's samskara, is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that even a human being who is born without any intelligence or whatever in a Shudra family can be rectified. Even in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra, you have that Ratnagara, who actually was born in a Brahmin family. But anyway, he became a dacoit. He lost his caste. But just by chanting Mara, 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 he actually came back to the exalted position. So that's the best samskara in Kali Yuga, the chanting the Lord's holy names. So anyway, getting back to the story, which I hopefully I will continue with without telling stories within stories. So the Brahmanas, they became very confused. How is it possible that this is happening? And so Lord Caitanya and Ramananda Roy recognize, these people cannot appreciate our great devotion and love. And so they agreed to meet later without all those ritualistic brahmanas there who would criticize them. And so they met later, and they took prasad, and they had many different questions that were posed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and answered by Ramananda Roy that elucidate or elaborate on the highest goals of life. Because people have different ideas, what is the highest goal in life? Like one time Prabhupada was in Japan. He was talking to the Dai Nippon printing company and negotiating a price. So all the main salesmen left the room, and one of the junior salesmen stayed with them. And Prabhupada said, "What is your goal in life?" And this junior salesman, there was this stack of business cards of all the people there. So the junior salesman took the business card of his own, which was on the bottom, put it on the top. So that was his goal. Everybody has these different goals in life. I want to become rich, I want to become famous, like that. Of course, ultimately it's all lost in time. Reminds me of a story that Prabhupada's told, that once upon a time, there was a man who was making pots, clay pots like make in India. And he had his potter's wheel and everything. So somehow or other he got the money, very poor guy. He got the money together to make a clay pot, one clay pot. And he was thinking, good businessman, good Vaishya. So he was thinking, with this clay pot, I'll sell it. I'll make 100% profit, right? That's pretty good. And then I'll be able to make 2 clay pots, then 4, then 8, then 16, and eventually, wow, quite a few. And then I'll become very, very wealthy. And he said, when I become very wealthy, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to marry someone beautiful. And he said, and if she doesn't listen to me, I'll kick her. So when he kicked, he's just like, so you know how sometimes there's nothing in front of you to kick, you just like that. So he kicked the pot and he lost his initial investment. So that's a story Prabhupada told. So we all have different goals in life, a bigger house and all these goals, if we achieve these external goals, we lose them. It's something like in the Greek mythology, there's this thing called the myth of Sisyphus, where someone was punished. It's something like the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Someone is punished, and the punishment is they get to roll a stone up a hill, which is kind of hard. Then the stone rolls down. Then they have to roll up and down, up and down, up and down for a few thousand years. It sounds pretty bad, but we've been doing it for many lifetimes. Isn't it? What I mean by rolling a stone? Well, you're born, you got to go through education, you get spanked a lot when you're a kid, right? You get spanked? Not anymore. Oh. So, not anymore. Yeah, you're too strong for that now. So you get spanked, you got to go to college, you got to be in anxiety about the exams. Then you go to your marriage and there's anxiety during the, isn't it true? He had his marriage ceremony yesterday. So there's anxiety during the marriage because the parents are pressuring you. If you're a girl, they're pressuring you to dress a certain way. And anyway, and so they, sorry about this. So finally, you get a job, then you get, I know some of our members, you come to America, then you find out you got fired from the job, then you got to look for another one, just keep your visa. And then, all this is going on, and gradually you're getting older and older and older. And then your children say, we can't take care of you anymore because you're a burden. And then you get old, and then eventually, take another body. And so then you take another body, you start afresh. So, that punishment sounds pretty depressing, didn't it? But life, unless you take to Krishna consciousness, then even if you have to take another birth, then you get to do something blissful. I'm not worried about taking another birth because if I take another birth, it's just to serve. Just want to be a sannyasi, though. Not getting tangled. So, yeah, so that's all. Serve the spiritual master. It's ecstatic. I'm old and I'm ecstatic. That's pretty unusual. Usually you're static instead of ecstatic when you get old. So, getting on with the story. So, Lord Chaitanya was inquiring as to the ultimate goal and the process for achieving the ultimate goal. So the first thing that Ramananda Roy said was the ultimate goal, the process of achieving the ultimate goal is to follow your varnas. You got to be religious. And actually, it's not completely wrong because there's different stages, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of human development. I mean, one is the animal stage, and then you get into the ethical human stage, the religious human stage, and then ultimately you got the devotional human stage, and then you got pure devotional service. These are statements by one of our great teachers, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Caitanya Shikshamrita, a great book that I highly recommend. So Varnashram. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that's external. I don't like that, teacher. Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the teacher, but he's asking questions to draw out the truth from his student. Technically, that's called, in Latin, it's called the Mayudic method. I'm not going to translate that for you. But it's where you draw out Drawing out means you keep asking questions until you get to the actual answer that you're looking for. That's a good teacher to do that. Good teacher won't just like pour knowledge down your throat. He'll actually ask you to develop it yourself. And I remember I'd studied mathematics in the university, and I was able to do that, and it was quite, and I remember mathematics to today, all the details, because the teacher was very good. So, Lord Chaitanya rejected it and said, that's just external. Give me some other means and some other goal. And then Ramananda Roy recited this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a nice verse. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajyahoshdasyat yatapashashi kontiya tat kurishwa mararpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, etc., should be done as an offering for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Lord Chaitanya said, that's external. Now, you may think, why is that external to offer everything to Krishna? That's what we're proposing in the Krishna conscious movement. Well, because that is something, unless you go further to loving Krishna, doing it out of a spirit of love, it's something called karma mishra bhakti. Karma mishra bhakti means you're doing things for Krishna, most likely to get something from him. Like a business exchange, right? You give something, you get something. You scratch my back, I scratch your back, so to speak. So, Krishna, please give me a house by the sea. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Make everybody pleasing to me. Send my son to a good university. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hari. It's like Adi Peru. She went to Cambridge. I mean, really, I prayed for it. By my blessings, yeah. He is ready to settle for some crazy North Carolina college. So, anyway, see, you get blessings. Anyone want blessings after this? So, we'll charge. So, it works, see? Anyway, not going to get into it. So that's external. Although we do it, it's still external if you just accept that. So then Lord Chaitanya said, go further. And Ramananda Roy said, well, one should renounce everything and take sannyas. Now that may sound good, because generally you think of sannyas as spiritual. Now, real sannyas is spiritual, because the word sannyas means to renounce and to accept. But, in most cases, sannyas is just a fancy way of retiring. I hear that from so many people. I really got to take sannyas. There's so many problems. My wife's nagging me. My children don't listen to me. Maharaj, give me sannyas. According to Krishna, that is renunciation in the mode of passion, where one gives up something because it's so difficult. The real purpose of taking sannyas, which is the reason I took sannyas, was to dedicate myself to serving my guru, my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So that's real sannyas. So it's also external. Even though Ramananda Roy quoted this verse, 1866, Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman, Prajaja, Babakam Sharanam Brajaham Tvam Sarvapapigyo, Bokshya Shamni Masucha. Say something more. And then Ramananda Roy, he knew the ultimate goal and everything, but this is like a play between Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. Then Ramananda Roy said, what about Jnana Mishra Bhakti? This verse in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Pasanatman Sauchati Nakankshati Samaksar Veshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. When one comes to the Brahman platform, one doesn't hanker or lament. So, Aham Brahmasmi, Sosmi, whatever. All the mottos, the Mahavakyas that impersonalists have, isn't it? Aham Brahmasmi, I forget all the rest of them. What? Tatwamasi. Yeah, that's another big one. Tatwamasi. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am Brahman. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. I tried that when I had a kidney stone. Didn't work. The pain of the kidney stone. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. You try that. You go into the hospital with someone who's in pain and you tell them they're not the body. See how they respond, right? You're not the body. You shouldn't be in pain, Prabhu. They'll call for the men in white coats to take you away. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that. That's called Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Jnana Mishra means you're serving Krishna, but you want to come to the Brahman platform. That's your goal. You're using Krishna as a step, like a stairs or something. Like you step over Krishna, you step over the Guru. That's the Mayavad conception. So then, finally, Ramananda Roy comes to the point of pure devotional service, which is described by Rupa Goswami as the Nyabi Lashita Shunyam Jnana Karmanavritam Anukuyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktirutamam. Pure devotional service is something done out of love. You do what Krishna wants, not for your own purposes, not for your own goal, but just to please Krishna, and you do it gladly with so much bhakti. This is what we're doing here. Bhakti. Bhakti means just like wanting to please the object of your love, even if you have to suffer in doing it. That's Ramananda. That's Radharani's consciousness. Srimati Radharani says, if my unhappiness makes Krishna happy, then my unhappiness is my happiness. So that's real love. You simply want someone to be happy, simply thinking about them 24 hours a day. But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that's good, but I want you to go a little higher. Tired of that. And then Ramananda Roy started talking about the different, simply thinking about them 24 hours a day. But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that's good, but I want you to go a little higher. Tired of that. And then Ramananda Roy started talking about the different rasas. That means the taste and relationship. There's rati, the relationship, there's rasa, the taste in the relationship, and there's the bhava, or the emotions that you feel in relationships. The three different things that are connected. There's the relationship itself, the emotion, and the taste. I'll give you a practical example. So let's say, what is your relationship with broccoli? Here's a good one. It's broccoli. That's the identity of it. That's whatever. You like it. And so, what's the taste? And how do you feel when you eat it? I know this doesn't relate with any of you. I should rather have said, what? Paneer, okay. Or pizza. I'm sure that would have been much more attractive to all of you. So this is speaking from my own realization right now. Sprouts, sauerkraut, So this is not something that you can relate to. Sorry. I'm not speaking your language. So anyway, so he talked about what's called neutral love, neutral ecstatic love, what is neutral love? Where you just appreciate how great God is. I mean, this is generally what's taught in the religions around the world. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Give us this day our daily chapati. I know. I know that much. So, then, God is great. He is great. There's no doubt about it. But there's no intimate taste there. There's no intimate taste. And in Braj, in Vrindavan, there's an intimate taste in one's relationship with God. Now, many devotees are situated just on that on-reverend platform, and you'll see this if you travel around India and go to different temples. I mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We're not decrying. We're not criticizing. But then Lord Chaitanya said, please go higher to Ramananda Roy. And then Ramananda Roy said what's called the dasha ras, or servitude. And where one actually understands their constitutional position. Now, one thing about all these different relationships and tastes is that as we build up to go to the highest, which you probably can't guess, then let's say the positive qualities of the lower ones, I don't want to say they're low, but the ones that are like relatively lower, because they're all exalted, build up. Something like the material elements where you have earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So when you have the subtle elements, let's say there's the sound in ether, right? Then you also have sound in earth. Earth can also transmit sound. Water can also transmit sound, too. And air can certainly transmit sound. Otherwise, you all wouldn't be able to hear right now. So therefore, it's the same thing with these different rasas. So then Lord Chaitanya said, no, go higher. And so Ramananda Roy says, okay. And then he goes to the friendship relationship, which is like the coward boys in Vrindavan. And of course, outside of Vrindavan, you have Arjuna, who is Krishna's driving the chariot of. And then Krishna says, very nice, so go higher. And then you get more and more intimate as you go higher. And more equality and even superiority with Krishna. In other words, in the friendship relationship, there's sort of an equality. You know, you can go up to Krishna and just wrestle with him. In the Shanta Ras or the Dasha Ras, you don't go and wrestle with Krishna. You know, who would go up, let's say if you're in a church, you go up to God and say, dear God, will you wrestle with me? This doesn't happen. But in the friendship relationship, you're wrestling, and sometimes you're even defeating Krishna because he enjoys this very much. And parental, you become superior. You get to not spank Krishna, but you get to run after him with a stick. Did your mother ever run after you with a stick? My mother did. Well, she never caught me. So you know, but not to harm the child, but it's just like you're concerned with the child's welfare, the child's safety and everything like that. And then further, Lord Chaitanya said, go even further, and then then we went to the conjugal relationship. And that, of course, is Srimati Radharani's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Ramananda Roy began to discuss all the intimate exchanges that occur between Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and especially he talked about Radha Kund, the most exalted place anywhere. Oh, you missed. I was just talking to your son, so he just revealed everything to me. We have to talk a little later. So, anyway, this is the story, and then later on, they engage in more discussions about what is the best education. We don't have time to talk about this. Like, what are the best activities, and all this pointed out to devotional service. So one of the reasons that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took instructions, or appeared to take instructions from Ramananda Roy, because he wanted to show that same verse, Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyashi Shudra Kenanoi, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta Se Guru Hoy. It doesn't matter if someone knows the science of Krishna, then he can be accepted as Guru. And that was also proven by Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who took initiation from Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj, who was a grain dealer before he took the renounced order of life, became a Babaji. And he was illiterate. It's interesting. He was basically illiterate. In other words, he knew Bengali, but he couldn't read Sanskrit, because literacy in those days meant reading Sanskrit and understanding and being able to translate into the local language. But he approached Gorkashordas Babaji Maharaj and asked him for initiation. And he took initiation from him. So really the important thing is, and even many of our gurus in disciplic succession, like Narottama Das Thakur, he was also considered like Shudra caste. So the point is we see someone who knows the science of Krishna. Ye Krishna Tattvaveta Se Guru Hoy. So Tattvaveta means to know the tattvas, who is Krishna, what is the material energy, what is the spirit soul, and what is the process, the sadhana, for realizing Krishna, and what is the sadhya, what is the goal of Krishna consciousness. And so by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are all finding that out through Lord Chaitanya's teachings and through the teachings of Srila Vyasadeva, the mercy of the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. So, anybody have any quick questions? I mean, I could speak more about their questions and answers, but we don't have that much time. So, quick questions, answers, problems, complaints? Yes.
Serve or love someone, or like, is there a limit to love? Is there a limit?
No. No, there is no limit. Spiritual love has no limit. And when one loves Krishna, one automatically loves everybody. That's why we say a Vaishnava has what? He's an ocean of compassion. Kripa Sindhu, right? Kripa Sindhu means an ocean of compassion. There's no limit. There was no limit to Prabhupada's compassion. And one's love to Krishna, it just goes on forever. Prabhupada gave the example that if you shine a light inside a box, it just goes a short distance. He uses a metaphor. And if you shine it in outer space, you know, technically it could go on forever because it's not blocked or anything like that. So we all have a loving propensity, Prabhupada said, that we want to be able to express in an unlimited way. But through the objects or relationships we have in this world, it's very limited. You hit like a brick wall after a while. It's like you drive your car into a brick wall. Don't suggest it. But anyway, you have a speed limit on the car before you get a ticket. So, so you drive your car, and it's just up to a certain limit. But imagine having a car where there was no speed limit and no rubber tires or anything, and no police, too. And that would be pretty nice. No, from my perspective. So, so that loving propensity, that's what that savai pumsam paradharma yata bhakti hoksajaya haitaki pratita yatma supersedite. So that love for Krishna is always expanding in the devotees' hearts. And Krishna's love for the devotees is always expanding. I mean, it's hard to understand that being here in the material world. But it's like you even have the example of Sheshanag, who is glorifying the Supreme Personality of God, and he never comes to the end of the glorification. So it's this, the spiritual world is Satchit Ananda. I mean, it's unlimited bliss, unlimited everything. Krishna is unlimited. And the soul is unlimited too, spiritually. So.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you. Anyway, I am just speaking what I heard from Prabhupada. Yeah. The goal of life is to attain service to Krishna according to your particular tendency. You have a spiritual tendency. So, of course, with Lord Caitanya and Ramananda Roy, that's another thing. But we all have, as part of our soul, a particular rati relationship that is just constitutional. And it's a question of waking up to that constitutional relationship. It's not that everybody's a gopi, it's not that everybody's a coward boy, but this is the highest goal, let's say the highest goal for those who are on that platform. But for those who are on different platforms, They have their own highest goal. Isn't it? So, but still, everybody in Vrindavan, where the most intimate pastimes of Krishna are, only in Vrindavan does Krishna play a flute. Only in Vrindavan does Krishna have these amazing pastimes, close devotees, unexcelled beauty. The devotees in Vrindavan are all serving the Madhurya Leela. They're all serving that conjugal relationship. Whatever. If you're a tree, you're providing shade, you're providing fruit, you're providing shelter for Krishna's pastimes with Srimati Radharani, right? And if you're a coward boy, you may be sending messages. Not by mobile phone. Now they just text. You know, will you meet me today? So, I think we should end now. Time. Just one other announcement. I'll just make the announcement that next week we're going to be talking about ABCD, and we're not talking about the alphabet. So, the challenges of being an ABCD. And so we can hear from both perspectives, the parents and the young people. Don't worry, you're not. You're not. You don't have that disease. But these are the young people, they're infected. So that'll be next week, and I'll be assisted by Adi Purusha here, who has had all the experiences an ABCD could have. So, speaking from the voice of experience and realization, he has more realization. I don't have this realization. I'm an ABCD, American-born confused devotee, but coming from the other direction. Okay, so Addition to Ryan Prabhu, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.